Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at linear relationships and more specifically equations and tables. Let's recall what slope and y-intercept is first. Slope repeats, it has some kind of pattern, and remember some of the key words are like each, every, per, it's a rate of change. Y-intercept is when x is equal to 0, it's kind of like the initial or starting amount. It could be like a beginning number. And then in order to write an equation, we need to remember y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and then b is the y-intercept. Okay, so let's look at this first example. It says the table below shows the relationship between how far the Sanchez family is from home in miles and how many hours they have driven. So at 0 hours of driving, they have a distance of 800 miles to go. After 2 hours, they still have 654, 4 hours, 508, and so on. And we are to figure out the slope. Now remember, slope, MPH, stands for miles per hour, and that is meaning in 1 hour. How far did they go? And let's look at the table. So the table is counting by 2 hours each time. 2, 4, 6, 8. And for every 2 hours, we need to figure out, okay, well, how much is the y-axis counting by? And just as a reminder, this is x, and this one's y. So to figure out what's being added here, we're going to take 800 and subtract 654. And when we work that out, that would give us 146. And each time the table is going down, so it's a negative 146. So for 2 hours, it went down 146. However, we want to know only for 1 hour. So we could take the 2 hour distance of 146 and divide it by 2. 2 goes into 14 7 times. Bring down the 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So our slope is 73 miles per hour. And since they are getting closer and closer, it'd be a negative 73. Okay, we also want to know the y-intercept, and the y-intercept is the starting amount whenever x is equal to 0. Well, here is x, and here is 0, and so they're starting at 800 miles away. And then we need to write an equation. So all we're going to do is plug in the information that we know into the y equals mx plus b. So we're going to start out as y equals, instead of m, let's write the equation for the slope. So that's, or with the slope number, 73x plus an 800 starting point. Now, we could also rewrite this equation and it would mean the same thing, starting at 800. And then as time passes by 1 hour, we're getting 73 miles closer. So our distance away is going down by 73 each hour. Then it says, how far away from home will they be after 10 hours? Well, remember x stands for hours, and we could plug in a 10 to our equation for x. So to figure out the total distance, which is y, we could do 800 minus the 73 times the 10 hours that would have been driven. Well, 73 times 10 here is 730, and then we would take 800 and subtract 730, and then that would be equal to 70 miles. So after 10 hours of driving, they would still have 70 miles left to go. let's try another one. It says write an equation and create a table for the following. A tree is 15 centimeters tall when it is planted. It grows at 3.2 centimeters per week. So it started at 15 centimeters tall and it's growing at a rate of 3.2 centimeters per week. So at 0 weeks represents when it's planted, and so that would be 15. And as the weeks are counting up by 1 each time, plus 1 here, it's growing by 3.2 centimeters. So we would take the initial height of 15 and add 3.2. Remember, when you add, we have to line up decimals. And so the next week it would be 18.2 centimeters. And then if you take that answer and add the 3.2 again, be 21.4. And then take that answer and add 3.2 again. That would be 24.6. Now the table wants us to predict for 14 weeks. So there's another way of doing this other than adding 3.2 14 different times. We could take this 14 and plug it in. Remember, this is X and this is Y. And let's first, before we know what to plug in, we need to write an equation for this. So our equation would be y equals, instead of the letter m for slope, we're adding 3.2 each time. So it would be 3.2 times however many weeks goes by, so 3.2w. And then we had a starting point of 15. And weeks, in this case, will be 14. So we're going to do 3.2 times 14. And then add the 15 starting amount. So we need to work this out to figure out how tall the tree would be after 14 weeks. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Add a 0. 1 times any number is itself. And then our decimal goes one place after. So that's 44.8, but then we need to add the 15. Bring down the decimal. And so the height of this tree would be 59.8. Alright guys, that's looking at equations and tables. We were able to look at a situation and create a table and even write the equation to help us predict for a future week. And then we were also able to look at a table and then create the equation by figuring out what's the slope and what's the y-intercept. Thank you guys for watching.